Before I went back to work on the night, I knew Art the Clown would show up to kill 4 beautiful innocent women. Women that I also knew I had to save. I had promised that I would definitely marry Ruby and Megan tomorrow because during my time on Earth I had used my powers to rewrite the marriage laws in the United States so that I could be in a polygamous marriage with many women if I desired that, and I also knew after I saved all those beautiful women from Art the Clown that they would definitely have sex with me and marry me right after I killed Art the Clown that night, but I also knew he wouldn't stay dead, as it turns out the pale girl was supposed to marry the ruler of hell and bear his children, and that's why she hates me. She was married to Lucifer and she loved him, and since I replaced him she wanted to kill me out of revenge, but she also knew that she could also marry me as well, and then she started thinking maybe I could inhabit the body of a beautiful human woman, so she chose to possess the body of the beautiful female actress Kate Beckinsale as her plan B, and then she said yes, she is very pretty, this will work out for the best, I'm sure he will like this body if my plan fails with Art the Clown, and then she said but first a true test, and then she showed up at my house telling me she wants me to clear out that building full of pests, and when I saw the gorgeous younger Kate Beckinsale standing in front of me I couldn't resist talking to her, and I couldn't resist literally charming her pants off, and then I had sex with the beautiful and young Kate Beckinsale, and even in my previous life I always had a huge crush on Kate Beckinsale, and I always wanted to have sex with her, especially if she was wearing that Celine costume of hers, the death dealer herself from Underworld and Underworld Evolution. I decided to get her pregnant because I just couldn't resist. I absolutely loved everything about Kate Beckinsale, so in my new world I decided to impregnate Kate Beckinsale, and I didn't know that the pale girl had possessed her, but that night when I had sex with her for the first time in her life she felt true love, and then she immediately started to regret her plans to try and kill me. She was now on top of me riding my large 10-inch member in the cowgirl position, and I moaned loudly with many orgasms, and I said, oh god baby, I love you so much. Oh yes, screw me hard. And then she said, oh my god baby, yes, oh it feels so good, and I made love to this version of Kate Beckinsale in every sexual position, and I loved every second of it, and I made love to her so long that I broke her mind. Even in the morning she took a shower in my bathroom, I took a shower with her and I made love to her again, this time in my shower room, and then right after I passionately made love to her again she said, wait, I have to tell you something, and then Ruby knocked on my door and she said, it's time for you to go to work, Mike, and I said, thanks honey, and I already knew that this version of Kate Beckinsale was possessed by the pale girl, but she chose anyway to not say anything about Art the Clown, so I asked her, so what did you want to tell me? And she said, oh nothing, and then I sighed and said, okay, so you can stay here as long as you want and I can also marry you if you wish, and then I opened the door and I stood there for a second and I asked her one more time, are you sure you don't want to tell me anything else? And then she said, I'm sure. Then I said, okay, so it's like that then, and then she said inside her mind, does he already know everything? And then I got in my exterminator van and I warmly smiled at Kate Beckinsale and I blew her a kiss, and then after that nothing but absolute regret and remorse filled her mind, and then when I drove off she stuck out her hand and she screamed as loud as she could, wait, don't go. Please don't go, and then she started crying, and then I said to myself in my car, there's hope for you yet, pale girl, and I smiled warmly, but I continued driving, and then the pale girl's eyes turned her original color and her eyes started glowing bright orange, and she said, no, 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 this isn't happening, the only man I've ever truly loved is in danger, what have I done? No. Then she started crying helplessly, but she stayed at my house hoping I'd come back home unharmed, but what she did not know is that not only would I come back home unharmed and fully intact, but I would be bringing 4 other beautiful women back home with me that night, and then they would all have sex with me, including the mentally unstable homeless woman whose brain I would have to heal before I had sex with her, because I'd feel bad having sex with a woman that's mentally unstable. So I went to work that night and I did my job and I cleaned up everything in that building and I waited for the girls to show up, and I went ahead, I healed the homeless woman's brain with my powers so she could actually help everyone, and I also gave her true immortality.